Okay, basic butchery. I'm going to butcher a whole chicken. This is something you're going to do quite a bit of in meat seafood. Now, I start with the leg and thigh quarters. You see this flap of skin. Just going to cut that skin. Here that separates or is in this indentation between the body and the leg and thigh. So just opening that skin, I want to feel the thigh bone where it attaches to the body. Feel it with my thumbs and then hyperextend the joint until you hear it or feel it crack. The ball and socket joint, when you hyperextend it, you pop the ball right out of the joint. It makes it so much easier to remove the meat, the bone, that whole section, without compromising your knife. Here I can do this with just a paring knife without ever touching the bone at all. And this happened really good. You might be able to see the socket. And if I pull some of the meat back, you can see the ball popped right out. All right, let's do the other side. It's already disjointed. Take the skin all the way back to the meat and dissect the meat away from the body. Leave as little meat as possible. Whatever stays on the carcass is well, it'll flavor the stock, so it's not waste, but is not going to be something that you enjoy in another dish. Now, do the same thing with the wings. I personally find it easier to score right at that joint. Score the skin, score the meat right down, and sometimes the way they're handled in the kill plants, sometimes they're already those wings are already disjointed. Super simple. Now you can separate the wings as well. The wing tip should go into stock. Then you have the flat and you have the drumette. The wing, the chicken I have here is so small that I keep the three together, the three joints or the three sections, and this is going to go into stock. If you have a whole lot of skin, we can pull off some of this skin just to get it out of the way. This will be the only waste out of this whole bird. And you could save this as well. Cut this in little strips, fry it, little cracklings, some crunch to go on a salad or on top of some other dish. Salt it for some seasoning. Fry it, deep fry it, so it doesn't have to be waste. There is the keel bone or the sternum, but it's the keel, and so it comes straight down and then it flares where it becomes the rib cage. And so if you know that, you can follow the bones. First, again, sharp knife. I'm just scoring the skin. And then you basically pick a side. And we're dissecting ever so gently right down the side of the keel bone. A couple of passes with the knife, and then use your fingers to pull it away from the bone. Just a little bit at a time. Here at the tip, back here closer to the neck, the keel bone is really thick and it's hard bone. But as we get closer to the tip, a person has a xiphoid process, the tip of the sternum. We get to the tip down here, this is mostly cartilage. And so you have to be really careful, or you can cut through the cartilage and you leave a piece of cartilage attached to the breast meat. Gently pull it away. You can see that cartilage right here, right there. Right here is that cartilage. And just with the knife, I want to follow the rib cage, that cartilage, follow it all the way around. Shaving off as much meat as possible from the bird. And right on the back side of the breast meat, you'll see this little tendon. If you pull up there, you remove the tenderloin. And so this is the tender of the chicken. So true tenders have this tendon that runs down the middle. It's a little bit chewy, but if you have fried tenders, it's this. In some restaurants, they take the whole breast meat and cut it and call it tenders. But there you go. We'll do it one more time on the other side. Follow this all the way around. Being careful not to cut the cartilage, to leave. We don't want the cartilage attached to the meat. Won't hurt anybody like a chicken bone, but it's just not very pleasant. Doesn't have a good chew, doesn't have a very good mouthfeel. All right, skin's still there. I don't generally like to eat the skin, but I like to cook it with the skin on as it renders in the little bit of fat that's in it. That makes that breast meat so much more flavorful and juicy. And there's the other tender. All this will go in other dishes, and this, for this little teeny tiny bird, the carcass and the wings here, I'm going to add to stock. And so I'm going to clean up, and when we come back, we're going to butcher something else. Today's this butchery, we're going to break down a beef tenderloin. It's really the most prized part of the animal. This sits inside the carcass, from about the loin down near the pelvis, and it has to be cut out by hand. It's very lean, it doesn't move a lot, and so it's not a tough meat. It's very, very lean. Because it's so lean, if there's a healthy side to red meat and beef, this is certainly it. And so let's cut this down. This is what we're after removing. This may be a little hard to see in the camera, but this top layer of this tissue right here on the top, you don't see any down on this side, but here the big knuckle, the Chateaubriand. Here's the filet mignon, and right at the top of the filet and the Chateau you have this tendon. It's really, really tough. It's fibrous. It doesn't shrink up. It doesn't melt away like fat does. And so it's tough. It's chewy. And so we want to remove that. And so I tend to do this this part of it with a paring knife. Other people have, other chefs have different methods. We're going to take some fat away, but not much. You know, some filet mignon you'll buy from the store or you'll order from the restaurant and it's wrapped in bacon. Obviously we do that for some delicious flavor, but that's done to incorporate some fat in this very lean cut of meat. What I'm doing right now, I'll turn this around. What I'm doing right now is pulling away the part that we refer to as the chain. And so it is very, very fibrous. It's full of that same tendon material, all interwoven with the meat. And so I'm doing this backwards so that you're able to see what I'm doing. And there we go. Now, there's certainly good sections of meat up here at the top that we're able to break down as well. And so, just as an example, those are great for fajitas or good tacos, or to just eat. And so, what we want to do is cut away tendon material. We're not so concerned about fat. Again, this is so lean. Little bits of fat that are there actually help it. Help the flavor, help the juiciness. And so just trim away tendon material. I don't do this with the entire chain, just because there's so much of it. But up here at the top, the same part where the chateau is, this is a nice big plug of meat compared to the rest of the meat that's in the chain. Some of this you just learn by doing, and I'm doing this just for demonstration, for show. I certainly don't expect anyone right now to run out to the grocery store and buy yourself a whole tenderloin to break down. So, no, not at all. For this week's lab, refer back to Blackboard with what your lab assignment will be. And if you have any problems or issues or difficulty, see right here, that's a little bit of fat. You can remove that if you want. But just because there's white there, every piece of white isn't necessarily a tendon. And so it's here, it's this real fibrous piece. That's what we need to get rid of. Tendon is so chewy. Terrible mouthfeel. So there we go. We're going to save that. I'm not going to trim any more out of there, so that may still be ground if you make your own ground beef. Very good. All down here, these are just thin pieces of fat. I'm not real concerned about that, but I am about this silver skin. That's what we call that. And so my method is to run a sharp paring knife right under that surface there, like a needle. And then I want to make sure that my knife is kind of angled up a little bit, like skis on the water or on the snow. I want it to angle up just a little bit. If I angle it down, into the meat I go, and this is precious. And so I pull off a little tag, and again, I'm doing this with the knife slightly, the blade sharp, slightly elevated. And that's what I'm taking out. Okay, very little meat. No meat is best. A little more meat on that one. When you observe closely, it's very easy to tell the difference between fat, basically, and this silver skin. You can see the fibers, and you can't see that in fat. And so if you see these long, stringy fibers, that's tendon, and that we want to get rid of. Now here we have tendon that runs inside. See, this is really two muscles that come together underneath. They kind of come together, and so we have two sides of this to dissect. Here's where you get to do a little bit of work like a surgeon, I guess. When you get to this very, very end right here, I just kind of snip that off. You have a bunch of tendon that all kind of comes together right here at the top. Now, some of this fat just causes some extra pieces that hang off the sides, and we can go ahead and cut those out. These great big plugs of fat. But again, just because there's white, I don't think you necessarily need to cut all the white off, because some fat is delicious. Some fat is that's where flavor, some moisture comes from. Right back here, one last little tendon you don't wanna forget. we can start to portion it. Okay, this section right here we can cube, use for all kinds of purposes. Right here is going to be the filet mignon, and here is our chateau. And so for this, I'll just put this knife way over here. I'll go ahead and get my chef knife, and now we'll separate these into individual fillets about 2 inches. And that's going to give you about an 8 to 10 ounce fillet. Then these will kind of wrap up inside of itself. Land these pieces right here. That. Just some delicious little would be some good stew, I guess, to use this for stew meat. Although it's not tough. This is not tough meat, so this isn't something that you would want to cook for a long time. Okay. Chateau, filet mignon, and the chain. All right, I'll see you again when we do something else.